5% American adults under 30 identify as trans. 5% of adults under 30 identify as trans. 5 years ago, it was 0.6%, okay, that identified as trans. That's not visibility. This is social contagion of a mental health epidemic, okay? Vivek is making a lot of sense lately. Do you want to pull up this tweet, Rob, to show this to the audience? Is this a tweet you had here, or was it a video when he said that?
It's a tweet and video.
Let him say it. Play the clip.
We need to end this mental health epidemic, not just with anger. I'm not angry at trans people. I'm not. I'm frustrated with the culture that venerates a mental health illness that we should be treating instead of actually throwing kerosene on and fueling to spread like wildfire across this country. I know you're not supposed to say many of those things out loud, but I just think it's important that we speak truth, because that's got to be the first step towards getting to a solution. And that's what I'm hoping to deliver.
Listen, too much logic, man. Well, he's got too much logic, too many things that make sense. Pull up the tweet one more time. I want to read that one more time for the audience to see it. Zoom in a little bit. 5% Americans under the age of 30 identify as trans. Just 5 years ago, it was only 0.6% of 18 to 29 that said they were trans. Not visibility, this is social contagion of a mental health epidemic, even to the point where a kid doesn't get a chance to walk across the stage. You saw the story, right? This kid is like, a student banned from walking at graduation after saying boys are boys and girls are girls. Is this the article, Rob, that you have? Guys are guys and girls are girls. There is no in-between. Lore recounted saying, I think a lot of people thought my statement was against people or against groups, and it wasn't targeting any groups. At the time, Lore was supposed to impart words of wisdom to younger students at high school before his remarks at Shoshone News Press reports, due to the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, the school district cannot go into detail regarding the incident surrounding Lore. That makes a lot of sense, of course. The student was also accused of participating in a senior prank involving toilet paper, a dead turkey, and scribed messaging on brick walls before ceremony. They informed me that they think I'm going to have an outburst at graduation. I get the senior prank thing, but that was more of a group thing. I haven't had a problem all year. I just think my message was taken the wrong way. So Kit cannot say guys are guys.
Oh my! And Pat, let's just be honest.
None of us would graduate, by the way.
It's okay, Pat. We always talk about wars: Russia, Ukraine, the war, and this. The real war is good and evil. And I tell people every single day, I'm like, it's wartime. Like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna sit on the sideline? Or are you going to get in there and fight? I don't know if you guys saw this. Rob, I just sent you the link on it's Instagram on Slack. Last week, California passed AB, this is a bill, 957, which gives the state the legal right to deem any parent who doesn't affirm their child's gender identity as child abusers and could result in a loss of custody. And then there's I sent you this representative. Can you go to the video, Rob? Pat, this is Lori Wilson saying that she's not only 100% in, look what she did with her kid. Can you listen to that? Play that clip of her.
Affirming a child's gender identity is in their best interest. And it really is, because if you have a 7-year-old who's talking about having a potential to say, being able to articulate that they believe that they are not the same gender as they are biologically, then it should be affirmed. And through care, it should be determined. And that's what we did with our own child. And that would give the ability for a parent who wasn't sure to affirm and get their child the care that they need to make that, so they can begin to articulate that determination.
Mind you, she's doing it.
But by saying and rejecting it in wholesale, then you're essentially rejecting your child. And that is not in the best interests of a child. We should be affirming our children in every possible way and getting them whatever appropriate care they need, whether it's based on their gender, whether it's based on how their studies are in school. It doesn't matter. Our children should be affirmed.
So mind you, Patrick, you guys heard that. Her 7-year-old said either she's a girl, opposite sex, and they're like, we're all in. So that kid, I don't know if it's happened already, is going to get drugs. They're going to be castrated if they're a dude. Like, this is when I'd say it's a freaking war of good and evil. Those people are making the laws and making the decisions. And if your 7-year-old says, I want to be a girl, and you say no, they'll take your kid away. That's what that bill in California is saying. It's unbelievable.
Tom, how do you process that?
Well, the way I process it is, They better get ready for Lord of the Flies in the classrooms, because first of all, affirming your kid hey, I want to have ice cream at 3 a.m. If I say no, I'm not affirming my kid. You know, you basically have to understand that with kids, you need to put guardrails to create great citizens. Gay, straight, whatever they turn out to be, you, in terms of lifestyle, there's guardrails around entitlement. There's guardrails around structure and behavior. And if you consistently affirm everything, then you have no structure. You have an out of control person that when they walk into some structure, and let me think, like a job, they're going to be ill-equipped to socially in that environment, operate. When they walk into some structured environment like, a science class where you can't just say, well, I don't agree that 2 and 2 is 4. Really? Well, I'm not affirming you. I'm giving you a C. We are basically about to raise a generation of kids that are permanently affirmed and entitled, permanently affirmed in the wrong ways, and are entitled. And what we don't understand is that the structure builds character, and character builds citizens, and citizens build cities, cities build states, states build countries. So this is a very bad waterfall effect that's coming soon.
Tom, when I was 7 years old, Pat, I swear to God, ask my brother, ask my sister, I thought I was Superman. I would take a towel, wrap it around my neck, and run around the house. And
dude,
you thank God.
These days you think you're a vampire.
I
What are you
think I'm a
talking
vampire.
about?
Yeah, but dude, I thought that's hilarious.
Did you jump off the picnic table in the back and discover you were not able to fly?
Well, thank God that my mom didn't go, you know what, Vinny? You are. Climb up on top of our 3-story freaking apartment complex and jump because you could fly. Thank God she didn't do that. And it's
No
like, bro,
doubt.
a 7-year-old's mindset. I know, and I know people, some people are like, do any of you have kids? I don't have kids. They have kids. I don't need kids to know what's right and what's wrong. So all those people that are like, you don't have any kids, you have no idea, it's not your kid. I'm not stupid. Kids are innocent. And if you don't protect them, then you're on the wrong side.
Can I just... I can't
That's an
believe
important point you make. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I just want to be devil's
Protecting
advocate.
them.
I just want to
protect the 7-year-old.
I just want to be devil's advocate for a second, okay?
Devil.
Well, I'll start off by saying one of the proudest moments I've ever had in my life was when my 10-year-old nephew was like, yeah, I have a girlfriend. I'm like, that's my dog. That's my guy. It's like, you never know with a kid. But like, all right. But here's my question. That lady giving that speech, right? Do you think she loves her kids?
I don't know.
I'm asking you.
It's not a question of whether you love your kids. There are people that love their pets and they don't train them and they're a nuisance in the neighborhood, right?
Good point.
But you can't compare a pet to a kid. But I'm asking a very simple
The hell
question.
I can't.
This isn't a gotcha question.
I can compare a person's ability to lead their pets, their dog, their family, and their kids and say, is this a person of structure that's respectful of the neighborhood? Now, kids or humans are and are the ultimate point of value. I can look at somebody and say the kids are crazy, their dog is crazy, they're not a good neighbor, they're not helping society, they're not. This is nuts. Gay or straight, what are you doing?
What I'm solving for is this. I'm trying to understand these parents' mindset because if I don't have any kids, but when I do, and if God forbid I have a 7-year-old that wants to transition, I'm like, not so fast. Like that's not happening. Like that's not a thing. But these parents who are going to affirm identities and allow their kids to take these steroids and hormone blockers and all this stuff. I'm wondering how Pat famously says, how do you process this? How do they process? Like, I'm wondering how they process this. I'm assuming they love their kids and they want the best for their kids. And this is the approach that they're taking. Now, I think it's wrong. I think it's weird. But I guess my question is, should they be held responsible for this? Should they be held liable for this? Are they wrong for doing this? I agree that they should not do this. I'm just trying to understand their mindset as a parent, why they would allow their kids to do something like this.
Adam, let's ask you, why do you think?
I think, I don't know. That's why I generally don't know.
What do you think? Why do you think, what causes these guys to think, these guys love their kids? Great. So why would they do that?
I think that they love their kids so much that they don't want to tell them no. And when a kid's like, I want to be a boy.
So let's put that as one. So that's one. What else? Why else you think?
I think that there's some sort of societal contagion going on here.
Okay.
And whether
Perfect. So why else you think? 2 of them so far you said that one of them is they don't want to say no to their kids because they think that's a bad parent. Number 2 is societal contagion, which is cool to do that today. So they're kind of following that. Why else you think?
Yeah, I think I generally, this is something that is very confusing to me. And I generally don't understand this. Why? Because this was something that didn't exist when we were kids. I didn't know any kid that was trying to switch genders. I told the story famously about I knew 2 girls in elementary, middle school that played sports with all the boys, and they were just tomboys. That's it. They over time, they just became who they were. Now, one is happily married with kids, and one is a full-on lesbian. But she didn't switch her gender and become a man or anything like that.
So stay on this topic.
Yeah.
Why, answer your own question. Why do you think?
There's something going on in society today that has
so why don't we
led
do
to
this?
this.
Let's change the question. Let's change the question to this, to all of us. So we have to define, is it fair to say there is bad podcasters out there, good podcasters out there, and great podcasters out there?
Yes.
Okay, let's define the greatest podcaster out there, which is Joe Rogan. Okay, what makes him the greatest podcaster? Let's give him the 10 out of 10. Okay, he's curious, he's funny, he's real, he's straight up, he has opinions, his opinions change, he's evolving, he's got some interesting takes.
He interviews everybody from every spectrum, every walk of the world.
And everybody, pretty much for the most part. But all right, cool. He asks the right questions. He's patient. He's bunch of good qualities.
Yeah.
Let's define. Although typically no one knows bad podcasters, but let's define what would make a bad podcaster.
No preparation, no research, horrible guests, no point of view.
You can't keep my attention. You're not interesting. You're
not consistent. You don't do it.
You're not
kind of like
consistent.
something that you're
You don't
lukewarm about.
Boom, perfect. Okay, so can we go in this, like when we're looking at RFK and we're comparing him to Peter Hotez, in the area of who has more fancy degrees, who wins?
Hotez.
In the area of having done more research in health and all that stuff, who wins? Probably Hotez. In the area of who is healthier in life, who wins?
Kennedy.
In the area of a person that's simply asking questions and going against the establishment, who wins?
Kennedy.
Okay, you get to pick and choose on how we define him. All right, let's go here. Let's define, because this is where the argument ends. Let's define a bad parent and a great parent. What is a great parent? Let's define qualities of a great parent.
Provides for the child.
So provides.
Gives them the right morals and the right lessons for life, and gives them the right path. Puts God in their life. Puts them in the right schools.
Some people can debate that, but okay, what else?
I think it's someone who has structure. It's someone that sets boundaries. That's someone that educates. It's someone that shows affection. But that's somebody that isn't afraid to say no.
There you go. Now it's changing, isn't it?
There you go.
Yeah.
Now it's changing, isn't it? So you just said it. Structure. You made it very eloquent argument. So structure, boundaries, somebody that shows no. You said empathy. What's the third one you said was very important? Affection. And then you said what? No. Okay, Tom, you're a parent and you're one of the greatest parents I know. What else would you add to that?
Well, it's something Adam said a minute ago. He said, I love you so much, I don't want to say no. That's parental insecurity. They love themselves too much to risk the child's rejection.
Let's stay on great parent. No, let's stay on
great parents. I love you too much to say yes, and I'm unafraid of your reaction because I need to guide you through it.
Yep.
I love you too much to say yes to certain things.
Okay, perfect. So now, do we want to add anything else outside of this? I thought it was very smooth how you said it. Structure, boundaries, affection. No, I love you too much to say yes. Do we want to add anything else here to the great parent?
I think you prioritize character and education.
I also think it comes down to roles of a man versus a woman, right? Like what you bring to the table is different than what Jen brings to the table. You guys are different.
Now,
and you guys are great parents, but the way that you handle things are different.
Sure. Can we now define what a terrible parent is?
Someone that's not there.
Okay.
They're never there. Financially, they're not supporting the family. Security, you're not, you know what I mean? They don't give them a place to live. You know what I mean?
I'll sum it up is that the purpose of the child is to love them. Is a bad parent is the child is there to make you feel better. That's horrible.
No guidance, Pat, no morals.
We see that everywhere. You know what I mean, Pat?
What else is a quality? Can you go up? Let's just see what psychology today say what a terrible parent is. What else would you say about a terrible parent?
Enablers.
Enablers.
You don't correct your child. You enable it, and you mollify it, and you give them ice cream to shut up.
What
rather
else?
Than
at the end of the day, it's the exact opposite of what makes a good parent. That you don't have structure, you don't have discipline, you don't have
food,
affection. You
stay
won't
there,
say no.
But stay there. What are signs of bad parenting? Look at that. Strict and rigid discipline is bad parenting.
Bullshit.
Okay. strict and rigid. Okay, so
Withdrawing affection and attention.
Little
shaming.
Okay, so shaming. Okay, I totally get it.
Yeah.
And now
There's different sides of the spectrum. Like on one side, little or no discipline, and the other side is rigid discipline.
But you
got to be amenable.
Here's the part for this woman to say, if your 7-year-old child say they this, you know what you're saying? Here's what you're saying. What you're saying is the 7-year-old child knows just as much as you about life. That's what you just said. If the child says that, the child is at an equal level of wisdom and intelligence as you at 35 years old. She looks like she's 35.
Yeah.
Is the 7 years? So then you are dumb.
Yes.
That's what you are. Because most 7-year-olds are trying to learn and they want direction. And they will say anything and everything to get attention. Now, how many videos are you seeing coming up where the kid says, my mom just wants me to be gay. If I become gay, my mom will be so happy. And the mom says, I never said that. Your mom, you always want me to be gay.
I just saw that.
That's what
I remember that
You
video,
always
yes.
say you want me to be gay. Honestly, I'm not. Yeah, I can't believe you're saying this on live. So the point is, listen, somebody has to have a brass balls to go out there and say, here's a great parent, here's a bad parent. To all the great parents out there, we salute you because you make the world a safer place. You make communities safer. You produce people like anytime, like, for example, when I would get somebody, I said this to Sheena's mom and dad came and talked to me one time. And I looked at Sheena's mom and dad and I said, listen, I got the product. I didn't raise her for 18 years. You did. I just want to tell you, thank you. Because I got the product after you raised her. Like Grace is upstairs yesterday, sitting there working, doing her part at 14, 15 years old, 16 years old. That's a product of Paulette and Siamak raising her well.
Yep.
When I see Bailey, by the way, shout out to Bailey. She just took her SAT scores. You know what she got out of 1,600? 1560. Bailey just got 1560 on her SATs.
That's too wrong. Is that too wrong?
She got 790 on math. Shout out goes to mom and dad. Of course it goes to Bailey.
Of course.
But Bailey knows if her parents were somebody else, she wouldn't have a 1560.
Nope.
Life, sometimes you need the right people in your life to kick your ass and set an expectation and standard and say, no, step it up. Move up to this level here. That's not easy. That's a lot of hard work and discipline and dedication and sacrifice from your own stuff that you're doing. No, we have to define what is a great parent and what is a bad parent, and we have to keep recognizing the great parents. When I see, yesterday, Mario brought a couple people here. One of the kids was talking to me. Hi, how are you, sir? So I love your work you do. The guy's 12 years old. I said, why are you so confident? He says, what do you mean? Mom and dad are standing right. I said, why do you talk so eloquently and confidently? It's not normal for a 12-year-old to talk like this. Well, sir, I'm a very confident young man. I said, well, I want to tell you. I said, I hope you thank your mom and dad for raising you this way because this is not common. This is not common to be disrespectful, this confident as you're at 12. I hope when you leave this place, you say thank you to mom and dad.
Awesome.
Because without your mom and dad, you wouldn't be the way you are right now. And I looked at the parents in front of the kid and I said, I salute you. And I thank both of you for being great parents. We ought to recognize great parents and we ought to call out bad parents. Because it's happening. And these poor 7-year-old kids, 8-year-old kids, 9-year-old kids, when they're 38 years old by themselves and they have nothing else to do, there is no way of going back. Once you take these blockers, these things that you put in your body, there's no way of going back and being the same person you were, being the person that God created you to be. You're questioning God. The concept of saying, I am not this person, you're telling God, your creation wasn't good. This was not a good creation. You know what? This is how, like, I'm having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and I said, look, here's what you have to realize. I don't sit there and, certain things that we're wired, we improve as human beings, but certain things, you're wired the way you are.
Yep.
Okay? But some of the stuff, it's like an excuse. It's wow, that's just kind of how I am. It is what it is. I'm a smoker. It is what it is. I don't work out. It is what it is. No. If he created somebody that's as overly high standards, busting their ass, very detailed, meticulous, OCD, whatever, all this stuff that people want to add up there. But if you're somebody that's a high standard person, who created you that way? Probably a byproduct, your parents, God, your wiring, your DNA. That's how you're created. Phenomenal. Thank you for building me that way. But today, when it comes down to parents, man, I wish we would do a better job recognizing these great parents. You know, the whole thing that we're trying to do with Glendale, right now, and we're talking to a bunch of halls, to all the people that are listening, that you guys are having calls late night, all this stuff. I get all the messages, just so you know who you are. I want to tell you, I thank you, I applaud you, I respect you. We're trying to get a hall right now. All these halls in Glendale, every one of them have been very, accommodating. All of them. Such a freaking classy, just the community show we want to do. But they're like, Pat, we got weddings on Friday and Saturday nights. They're right. I mean, no, stop the wedding. No, you got to do your weddings. I totally get it. We're trying to do something to go Glendale, do an event. I don't know if it's going to happen anytime. I wanted to do it this Thursday, this Friday, or Saturday, because I want to do when the momentum's high. We're out of the country. We can't do anything. We're leaving, right? But the only reason I want to go to Glendale is just to tell the great parents, listen, don't second guess yourself. You're doing good. Keep doing and raising your standards. We ain't perfect, but keep getting better. They just need a platform for people to realize you are incredible as a parent. Keep raising the standards. They're making you think you're making a mistake, but you're not. You're doing a good job. So this whole conversation can be solved if we can identify what's a great parent and what's a bad one. We recognize the great ones and we call out the bad ones.
Yep.
Until we do that, this is going to continue.
Yep, and you have to. And I think when you see it, like I said about the battle, are they going to sit on the sideline or are you going to step up? It's those same parents, and we've been seeing it this entire month. Yes, it's been Pride Month, and I congratulate all the people for all my gay friends and family members with the Pride, but these are the same bad parents that are taking their children, 3 years old, 4 years old, 2 years old, and then bringing them in the street, Pat, when there's grown men butt naked, twerking. There was something, I think, in Minneapolis, one in New York, where there was like a fountain. Seattle, there's a fountain, Tom, of water, and it was just no clothing was optional. People didn't, like, listen to me. If you are a parent and you are bringing your kids front row to a parade where there's butt naked grown-ass men, you fall in that shitty, horrible, bad parent, and you should be ashamed of yourself. And I wish there was a law that where your ass could get arrested for doing that shit. Because Tom, at 5 years old, I remember everything. I remember everything visual. This is going to be stuck in little kids' heads for the rest of their lives, and I think it's disgusting, and they should be ashamed of themselves.
I'm with you, Vinny. This is absolutely absurd. This is ridiculous. If you're an adult, you want to go to something like this and see naked, sloppy people walk around and celebrate the Pride stuff, all you. But if you bring your child to this, I would say that is on the realm of child abuse. And I'll say one thing, and Pat, I want to get your opinion on this. You got Pride Month. That's 30 days. Pride Month. There's also Trans Awareness Day, and there's so many different LGBTQ things going on out there to celebrate the Pride Month. You've got 1 day of Mother's Day, and you've got 1 day of Father's Day. Okay. What's the month that they celebrate families? What month is that? It doesn't exist.
I was just like, what?
Okay, it doesn't exist. No. Why are we recognizing? We're capitulating to the 1% or the 2% or the 3%. I agree. You have your rights, but family values, we've seen them plummet in the last decade or two, right? Since the 80s, basically. And I think what you're saying is that common sense always wins and common sense prevails. What we're trying to, I think, see is this return to normalcy is like families are what make up America, not naked gay dudes parading in a street. And I think people are just over it.
By the way, this guy, Brian Krasenstein, I don't know who he is, but he's somebody because he's got a big following on Twitter. He said, number one, seeing a man naked on a bike isn't going to have much of an impact on any kid. They have likely seen their fathers or brothers naked before. What a weird...
Okay, there's a big difference between seeing your father when you're 4 years old versus seeing a random dude naked.
But you have number two. By the way, Elon Musk tweeted this. Number two, sharing an uncensored video of a naked man on a bike to an audience of possibly 30 million kids on Twitter is arguably worse than riding a bike naked in front of a kid or two in planned event that the kids' parents took them to.
Says who?
Number three, there are much worse things than the average kid will see or hear online and offline in a typical week. By the way,
I agree with that third one.
You realize this guy saying what he's saying, seeing a man naked on a bike isn't going to have much of an impact on any kid. Either this guy doesn't have kids, or two, if he does, he doesn't value that part. But I will tell you, majority of America, fully disagrees with you on this, Brian. And I think I would put that as 95% parents. Not people that are single, not people that don't have kids. This would need to be a very clear poll with parents with kids would totally disagree with this. But this gets people to say, well, he's right. What's the big deal? What's the big deal? Yeah, this is when you have to call out bullshit and you have to call out what's people that are doing it right.
So he starts with a justification, moves on to being an apologist, and then finishes with a justification. So he really doesn't make a point of his own here.
At all.
Yeah, but you know what? Some people follow it and they say that makes a lot of sense. Elon Musk retweeted and said this guy makes no sense. And Elon's got, I don't know, 10 kids, I think, at this time. But
And one of those kids went trans, I believe.
Yep, one of his kids did.
How did that happen?
I mean, 1 out of 10, Adam. The odds. I mean,
You know, it is what we listen. When there is a divorce and the father's not there on a daily basis, some mothers will raise their kids. I got a few friends right now that you know, the biggest fear of a father is when there's a divorce, is who is going to have that influence over their kids when the girl dates somebody else. That was my dad's biggest fear. Okay. To see what man is going to have influence over me if my mother was to get remarried. Now, my parents, neither one of them got remarried. My mother didn't get remarried. My dad didn't get remarried. I was...
The second time.
They remarried each other, but nobody else. The only person they remarried was themselves. Yes, that's a good point.
And they both swore off, and then
Yeah, but it's a fear because you're kind of like, that's my kid. What's he going to feed him? What's he going to tell him? What's he going to do this? What's he going to do that? So
completely.
When you lose your kid to mother and they're doing what they're doing, there's a risk of seeing how that woman's going to raise them.
I encourage everybody to go back and find the Bill Maher speech. This is now about, not speech, it was a position statement that he made leading into the debate that he has on his show. And 4 months ago, he did it. And he starts out with the statistics on the percent of population that was gay, and then he moves on to things. But he makes a really important point. He says, with kids, everything is phases. And when I was young, I wanted to be a pirate when he was like 7, 8 years old. I am so glad my parents didn't send me out for eye removal and peg leg surgery. So he's making a great point about all that, about phases. And he makes another point, and he says, I find it a little odd that I go to these parties in Los Angeles and Angelinos are there, and it's somehow fashionable to have a trans kid and to trade stories of how you're working through it. So it's about a 7-minute monologue that he does, but he makes a bunch of common sense points.
Wow.
And I think there's a wave of common sense that's coming. And there's a lot of people that are bringing common sense forward, like the Glendale, in Glendale, the Armenian community. My hat's off to you. You were not only bringing common sense, you had people sitting there at city council that made comments about the genocide, but common sense is coming to the fore. And in that moment, you have a practical presentation by Bill Maher in front of the camera. And then you have people saying, I've had enough, and I'll see you at City Hall, and I'll see you at the school, at the Armenian community at the Glendale Unified School District. So I think we're going to see more of both, of common sense, calm, and you're also going to see more parents stepping up, because I think in terms of this wokeness, the majority of America has had enough, and I think these things let them know, hey, you know what? It's okay to protest. It's okay to go out there and make your point. Look what these people did at Glendale Unified School.
The best. The best.
Yeah. And by the way, they weren't the ones wearing masks and fatigues.
No,
the Antifa, the Antifa that were milling around in the crowd there were the people there were very straight up. You see these rational things. Why do you not like this flag? Why do you not like this flag? Trying to engage in common debate.
And I love that.
I think there's a wave of let me tell you, woke is going to be met by awake. And awake, you awaken the giant, which is common sense. And I just hope this giant called common sense is big enough.
Yeah, and what I said earlier, Tom, about the people that are on the sideline or the people that fight in the war, Armenians are the ones that are going to step up and fight, bro. Antifa's biggest mistake is, think about it, Antifa's been going crazy for how many years, going to cities, terrorizing people. They showed up at the wrong place and got their asses whooped. Armenian mothers, grandmothers beating the shit out of dorky ass Antifa little white guy. That was one of the dopest moments.
When shoved and provoked.
100%. No. But mind you though, their front lines, their warriors, bro, it's for kids. It's not like they're just out there to start trouble, but that's Antifa went to the wrong place, and I guarantee you they will never go to Glendale, California to start shit again. Period. Done deal. End of story.
I'd like to know, in the middle of highly Muslim Minneapolis, there's one side of Minneapolis that is incredibly Muslim, a lot of Somalis up there.
Yeah, they call it mini. What's the capital of Somalia?
Mogadishu.
Yeah, they call it mini little Mogadishu. Exactly. I'll be there this weekend, by the way.
I'd like to know how well if they had a pride parade? I don't know. Did they have a pride parade in downtown Minneapolis? And how did that go with the Muslim community?
I'll check that out for you.
It's actually a
buddy.
very good question you're asking. I'm sure, Adam's going to do some legwork to find that out.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.